if it's the place where we talk about in some Christian circles where the Holy Spirit resides in you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the new Holy of Holies. The new temple.
How could that be a place of wickedness at the same time? So got me thinking, like, I'm not sure we've been taught. I wouldn't say we've been taught incorrectly. I just don't think we've been taught thoroughly about the heart and its centrality and importance.
Yeah. There's no doubt it can be corruptible. It can be hardened, but this goes back to the argument, or at least the exploration before the argument of before there was sin, there was goodness.
With God, there is always more. More love, more life, more freedom. Welcome to Zoe's Exploring More with Michael Thompson. C.S. Lewis once wrote, "Our Heavenly Father has provided many delightful inns for us along our journey, but He takes great care to see that we do not mistake any of them for home." Join me and the team as we explore the kingdom together, discovering the deep truths and offering encouragement for the journey. There is always more.
Welcome, friends and allies, to the Exploring More podcast. Michael Thompson, hanging out with SJ Jennings. And we are in the middle, actually just across the 50 in this series on the larger story, Your Story's In, also
map.
known as the map. And looking at the context of the story that we're in and how important it is for the characters in a story, to know the context of their story. And I can think of, half a dozen, SJ, where for whatever reason, the characters land in some other in some other space or some other planet or some other world.
Narnia, Alice in Wonderland, Matrix. I mean, you can go on and on and on. And The Martian.
Yeah, and then there's other stories where characters actually they get caught up in something much larger, like the Hobbits.
War of the Worlds.
And that against an alien.
That was
when there's an invasion.
Came upon that while we were traveling last weekend.
When there was something like that, where, and even Luke Skywalker, is a great example of a character who's in a story, but his story is, even to him, quite boring. Farming. He is living with his uncle and aunt.
Yeah.
He doesn't even know really the truth of his family, his backstory.
Right. It's all rumors and legend and
And he doesn't know really who he is in it. So when we do what we do in so many different environments and places and opportunities to either hit the road and join our allies, or we get to create a space and have friends and alumni and allies come to us. This is something that we talk about everywhere. This larger story, Your Story's In, as a part of what it is to be an oriented man. And an oriented man, he understands where he is. He is learning and coming to understand who he is, and we see that in all the character arcs of the hero's journey. And then he also, for the faith man, the spiritual man, the third component is he is a man or woman who sees and is understanding that God is up to good in his life. So he knows what the good God is up to in his life, and I think that,
even though that might be a hard thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I was looking at even our next episode, is just the final episode on this is where do we go from here?
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to talking about that. But before that, this session is really about kind of the tension and what the battle and the conflict is over, because we've talked about the unholy Trinity and the Holy Trinity and several components of this, and I'm sure we'll overlap a little bit, but I think this one this session about the centrality of the heart. Why is our hearts in the middle of this map? That's what we get to talk about in this episode. So,
Well, let's take a break.
Taking a break.
That might be the earliest break we've done in a while.
Yeah, I felt the pressure from Andy over there to tighten that
the
opening
glare.
up, not get into so much of the stuff that we need to get into. But let's take a break. We'll be right back on the Exploring More podcast.
Yeah, so possibly one of the most profound moments of my life, really. It was up at one of the old Top Gun events in the mountains up in Virginia, and I remember just really struggling, sitting up literally on top of the mountain. I hiked up there that day, looking out over the camp. It's beautiful, and feeling like I was in the presence of so many men that had such a connection with God. That what's wrong with me? Why hasn't God ever talked to me? Like, all these guys are talking about this great experience. And so I spent some time reflecting on that. And as I was walking back down the mountain, all that was in my head was, God, I need you. I need to hear you. I need to hear your voice. I need to hear, some semblance of life from you. And as I'm walking, I literally start hearing this running water in the middle of coming down a mountain. I mean, there's not really anything around but brush. It's a mess, and my legs are getting all torn up by the brambles. And I hear this running water, and so I'm thinking, God, this is crazy. And I start to walk over towards it, towards the sound, and find this running creek of just amazing, beautiful spring water. A nice mountain spring that shouldn't have been there. And in my head, I was thinking about God and the sort of the analogy of the river of life and all these things. And then there's this water in the stream, and all of this is happening at once, but I'm thinking to myself, just like, show me some kind of light, Lord, show me a light. I'm almost the movie, what's the movie with Bruce Almighty where, show me a sign, and he keeps going by the billboards every time, and he never, just show me a sign, and the signs are all over, like falling off of trucks. It was that silly almost that I in my head phrased the words, I just need a light or something from you. And I look down in the stream, there's literally a yellow flashlight sitting in the bottom of the stream. I'm not making this up. And I was just, and so in my head, I'm just questioning, this is so stupid. There's no way this is actually happening. And I sort of made this condition with myself. If I pick up that flashlight, it works. This is real. Dude, I swear, I picked up that flashlight, flipped it. It was a pelican light covered in moss. It shone a light as clear as could be. And it was just amazing. And I kind of heard, felt, experienced, I hear you. I see you, and I've got something for you. It was just amazing, and I've been off ever since. Like, you can't come back from that. It was pretty wonderful and pretty powerful.
Welcome back to the Exploring More podcast, where we are talking about the larger story that your story is in, and a map, an exploration of a map. If you're just joining us, then you'll definitely want to jump back into episodes 1 through 4, as this is episode 5, part 5 of this series. And as we jump into this this part of this larger story map, right in the middle, as either Andy will show you on your screen or you can see on the map that we kind of have as our backdrop here. This says the heart is central. The heart is central. And I want to read just a quote from The Wizard of Oz. And this is from Frank Baum's book. Most of us are familiar with the film, Judy Garland and all the great actors of the, 60s? It's got to be 30s, early 40s?
Yeah, Captain America saw it, so.
Whoa, yeah.
It was the 30s.
30s when black and white went to color like that, because that was a big deal. All kinds of crazy things, by the way, went wrong, went bad, went goofy.
1939
in the making of that. Buddy Ebsen was supposed to be the Tin Man, and he about died from heat exhaustion with the suit on. It's just really back then. That would have been
Buddy Ebsen. That's a name I haven't heard. Wasn't he on the Beverly Hillbillies? Yeah, there it is.
He was Paul.
Yeah.
So not Ed, Uncle Jed. Yeah. Jed Clampett.
Jed Clampett.
Yeah,
Black Gold. Yeah, man.
Texas Tea.
Mm-hmm.
So
anyway, we digress.
Here's the quote, and this is, and you know the characters. We've got the Cowardly Lion, we've got the Scarecrow, and we've got the Tin Man, and so they're talking about going and seeing the wizard and what they're going to ask.
What they're hopeful for.
Yeah, why they're taking this journey, and it's a great metaphor story, as we love stories, as to what Dorothy's going to need to get home. You know, and it's wisdom, right? It's courage and heart. And so this is what the Scarecrow says that he's going to ask the wizard for. And he's in this conversation with the Tin Man is in this conversation with the Scarecrow. And the Scarecrow says, all the same, I shall ask for brains instead of a heart. For a fool would not know what to do with a heart if he had one. To which the Tin Man says, well, I shall ask for the heart, said the Tin Woodman. For brains do not make one happy, and happiness is the best thing in the world. And so where I want to go with that for just a minute, SJ, is a quick conversation about the biblical theology of your heart and the personal theology in your heart. And so we will talk a lot about the heart, and we'll talk about how it is this storehouse of perception, belief, attitudes, perspective. And we'll get into that a little bit more. But I think when the Tin Man says this, that to love, you need a heart. Like brains are okay, but to love, you're gonna. I want a heart. And his backstory is a really, really great backstory. Where I don't know if you know this. He in the book he was in love with a Munchkin princess, a Munchkin woman, and the witch was very jealous of this love and cursed his axe. And so the woodman, who was not a Tin Man, but was a literal woodsman at one point, in love with a Munchkin girl, she curses his axe, and upon using it, it would continue to slip and cut off his limbs,
right,
parts of him, losing, his ability. So he would then see.
Stories in the 30s hit different.
Oh, they're a little bit, yeah,
yeah,
grim fairy tales.
All very
that.
Much so.
So he gets his treatment from the blacksmith, I guess, from the Tin Man, the Tin Man who's working to then reassemble him. So he's really pieced and parted together. But the final blow comes at his heart, and then all he's doing. When the rain comes that freezes him, and before Dorothy finds him in the tin can, or the oil can, I'm sorry, was he was just chopping wood. He just worked. His capacity to love is gone. His heart has not just been broken; it's been, in many ways, stolen. It's been compromised, and so that's why he's asking for. I'll take.
He remembers.
Heart. Brains do not make one happy, and happiness is the best thing in the world. So I'll take the heart.
Yeah.
Because to love, he knows that. And so I think the Frank Baum is really pulling from a bit of our love story.
Mm-hmm.
And this heart is more than some Hallmark card. It's really some deeper theological piece. But let me ask you, go back to the question about, I think the Scarecrow is pursuing the idea of biblical knowledge, while the Tin Man is looking for more of a practical knowledge and based on it's not just enough to know, about something or facts and figures. It's something else to know.
Yeah, he wants the experiential.
Why that works, how it works,
Mm-hmm.
and what the experience is of it. So any examples can you give a contrast between something, a biblical theology, yes, this is true, but something that in your life was more of through personal experience, you actually discovered how true that was?
Yeah. So I find it interesting. I remember being a new Christian and looking at different passages of Scripture that talked about the heart, because I went to this men's event in 2009 that talked about the heart an awful lot. So at the time it was called Top Gun. Now it's called Harvard Warrior Encounter. And so I was like, that's interesting. So let me go look into it a little bit. And, of course, there's the classic, the heart is deceitfully wicked, right? That gets brought up quite a bit.
Yeah.
But also in Ezekiel, God talks about taking your heart of stone and giving you a heart of flesh, a heart that can feel again, is the implication there to me.
Love again.
Yeah. And so to tie it back to the Tin Man, like, he's asking for that heart because he remembers how it was. He remembers how it felt to feel love and to be loved. And I think too, when I think about the heart being the center, not just of the map, but of our stories, it's all over our language. I was sitting here earlier just writing notes like, my heart's not in it is something we say, right? I love you with my whole heart. Mm-hmm. I'm doing this kind of half-heartedly. I mean, so on and on and on. If you start to, it's one of those things, man. It's like, when I bought a Jeep, suddenly I saw Jeeps everywhere. When I start learning and seeing this more, it just shows up everywhere, and it's a part of what we talk about, what we teach, but also it's straight out of the Scripture. Mm-hmm. There's a resource that we would offer to our listeners called The Biblical Theology of the Heart, which was a dissertation you wrote years ago, and I think you're working on it again and revising it some.
We redid it for the fourth time, and you know how things can expand, and it was like, man, this is too long. This is 30 pages long, and so we just kind of reworked it a little bit and trimmed it down, but not at the expense of your point of the relevance and the significance. When I first was presented with the idea that your heart matters, your heart's central, mm-hmm. and that these two kingdoms are at war over your heart, I just hadn't had that perspective of it, that I mattered that much. You know, there's a kingdom that's against me, but they're only against me because the kingdom that made me loves me so much.
Right.
So just getting, these pieces, these elements together in the system mm-hmm. of how it works, and then to find that how it works, there's this centerpiece that, a centerpiece is, it's the most significant, maybe important component, mm-hmm. especially in decorating, mm-hmm. on the table.
Yeah.
And so in this landscape of war and battle and conflict, it's over your heart and mine. And I think I just missed that, either if it was talked about in all the years of church, or it wasn't talked about like that.
It was talked about in my experience was more the, you can't trust it. Mm-hmm. You shouldn't follow it. Mm-hmm. It's deceitfully wicked. Mm-hmm. It's going to get you into trouble.
Yeah.
All of those things. And yet that never made sense to me.
Yeah.
If it's the wellspring of life, Proverbs 4:23, right? Guard your heart, for it's the wellspring of life. If Solomon asked not just for wisdom, but he asked for a wise and discerning heart,
Yeah.
You know,
It's
if it's the place where we talk about in some Christian circles where the Holy Spirit resides in you.
yeah, the new Holy of Holies,
Uh-huh.
the new temple.
How could that be a place of wickedness at the same time? So it really is. It got me thinking. Like, I'm not sure we've been taught.
Yeah.
Not just. I'm not sure I wouldn't say we've been taught incorrectly. I just don't think we've been taught thoroughly about the heart and its centrality and importance.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no doubt it can be corruptible. It can be hardened, but this goes back to the argument, or at least the exploration before the argument of before there was sin, there was goodness.
Yeah.
God created it and it was good, and he created us and it was very good.
Right.
And he created there's an anatomy to this in the spiritual anatomy that is your heart, soul, mind, body, we're spiritual beings and on this journey. And so I think the biblical heart, as you pointed out, a few very important pieces, is you need this to live. You need this to be alive, and so
physically and
spiritually. It's a very easy two sides of a coin. The reality that you need your physical heart pumping in order to be alive, and in the same sense, like you said, you need the spiritual organ to be working, and in the spiritual sense of what we're talking about, sin is a problem. We are according to Paul dead in our sin and alive in Christ. And so as Christ indwells, as the Spirit takes up residence, we're talking about the redeemed. We've been exploring that quite a bit in another conversation. But the redeemed heart is what I would say is what we're trying to apply to the good heart.
Right.
That now something has been altered, changed, transformed even. And that's at a deep core place called our hearts. And if your beliefs and your attitudes and your perspectives on things are stored up. We were talking about your battery on your computer just zonked.
Yeah. Well,
there's a couple pieces of a computer that, if the screen's shorted out, gone, that's bad. When your battery can work, your hard drive can work, your other components can work, but if that's bad, that doesn't work. And there's a few other pieces like that. Well, your screen can work, but if your battery, you have no juice.
Yeah.
You're in trouble. Same with a hard drive. Everything that is stored, I know we have the clouds now, but remember we used to have to buy external hard drives.
Oh yeah.
Just to expand.
Oh yeah.
The ability to hold files.
Right.
So I would propose that in this illustration, the heart is the hard drive. Things are stored there, and not all of them are good, because things that have happened to us, not all of it's been good, and yet they have and do shape us. Some of these unfortunate events and people who had access to forming our beliefs about ourselves and about God, about how the world works, even what a mom and a dad is like. I've told some stories about I remember when my counselor shared with me, I was sharing a story and that's what this person said, and that's like, I don't need a mom right now. I don't need mothering. And I thought the counselor would take my side. And he said, Michael, is that what you think a mother is?
Yeah.
I mean, jumped me.
Right.
That.
Stop you in your tracks moment.
And it was a file. Yeah, that's what I thought a mother was, because that was the personal experience, my theology, my belief system on what a mother was directly related to what my mother was.
Yep. I mean, just to continue the computer analogy, I have a computer at home that I use as well.
She wasn't like that all the time, but I'm just saying.
I know,
just to say,
I know it.
Boom.
To continue the computer analogy, though, I mean, I did an update on that computer. One of the files was corrupted, and so now the thing won't turn on. Like, it won't start. Like, it comes on, but then it won't run. Yeah. And I've gone through all this thing to try to eliminate the corrupted file and get it out of there and go back to a previous version so it'll function again.
Right.
And how many of us are walking around with just corrupted files in our systems?
Everybody. Everybody.
100 out of 100.
100. Yeah. That's why we're talking about this.
Right.
Because if you understand how these two kingdoms are working, and in the middle, what you believe matters, it has power, it has authority in your life. And if you believe lies from the father of lies, Jesus called him, then it's going to have an effect on your ability to function.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why Proverbs 4:23 is a centerpiece among other passages that we will look at about protect this thing, be careful. The Proverbs are all about storing, this wisdom of how life works, principles around life, right? David's telling Solomon, Solomon's written it all down, and now Solomon's telling his sons.
Yeah.
Proverbs chapter 1 and the first 6 Proverbs are all about setting that stage about wisdom and storing it, like Solomon said, a wise and discerning heart.
Yeah.
It isn't just wisdom he asked for. He asked for wisdom in his heart to be able to function and lead as he's becoming king.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole point of that situation between him and God was, I'm too young to lead these people. And God asked him, "What you ask me for anything?
Yeah,
ask me for anything.
What do you need?"
And he, instead of asking for the things that most kings might ask, I guess he asks for a wise and discerning heart. So it's a very, very, and then of course, God gives him, because you didn't ask for these things, I'm going to give you these things too.
Mm-hmm.
And even the wise and discerning Solomon, does not have the greatest record through his kingdom reign, in which he makes some terrible mistakes.
Yeah.
So now I'm back to the scarecrow, right? It can't just be biblical knowledge.
Right.
There's a personal connection with all of that, and the experiences that we have actually, I hope, are inviting us to have an accurate biblical theology. But in many cases, you can be biblically informed, even a biblical teacher, and not necessarily be an oriented or even a really good man. I mean, it can be that bad if in the dark, in the shadows, in the private, in the secret life, how do you explain that?
That all that stuff erodes you from the inside out. I mean, I know that firsthand, and I think most guys do. I remember back when I first came across Zoe and then joined the team almost 10 years ago now. One of the things that really struck me about the organization was this little catchphrase, "Life from the heart."
That was early, yeah.
Remember that?
It was a bit of our branding then, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, what does it look like to live more fully from the heart, do you think?
Yeah. Wow. Just one step back from that. I just want to put a couple punctuation marks on why life from the heart. And back to mentioning, and Andy can,
before we get to the how.
Yeah, Andy can get to the address for the biblical theology of the heart, where
Yeah.
there's a lot more of this. But I remember coming across several study guides: Strong's, Vine's Concordance, Unger's Bible Dictionary, Grudem's Systematic Theology. I mean, I was shocked that this subject, the science of it was in there. I just didn't know those pages.
Right.
I just wasn't aware. So Unger's Bible Dictionary says that about the heart, it is the center of the entire man or woman, the very hearth of life's impulses. So what's stored up in there, the country saying is what's in the well is going to come up in the bucket.
Our friend Jay Stott is the person
What's in
I
the
heard
well
say
is
that.
coming up in the bucket. So that's why your heart can be not just troubled, it can be corrupted.
Yeah.
And so when you believe lies, they have a power to affect how you navigate. It can make a good man hide. It can make a good man lie. It can make a good man try to prove or earn. I mean, we bring this stuff with us in our spiritual journey, in our faith journey, and they are the things, they are the files that Jesus really does want access, the Holy Spirit.
Right. He wants to redeem
Father.
those files
Right.
and uncorrupt them.
Right.
Right. Because
Right.
they've been corrupted.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's not, again, it's not that we believe the heart can't be deceitfully wicked or some of the other things that the scriptures say about it in that way. But it's that way because it's been corrupted, not because God created it that way.
Right. Yeah. When Jesus is asked about what's the greatest commandment, he doesn't go to the 10 Commandments.
Right.
He goes to Deuteronomy
Yeah.
and says, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart,
Yeah.
not your wicked heart."
Right.
And that's a part of this logic, theologic, that has to make some sense in the system that says it. I'm not saying that the heart can't be, in a bad way, but I'm also saying that because the scripture says, no, the heart can be in a good way.
Sure. That's the way it's supposed to be.
Yes. So when you get to Luke 10:27, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And so you move over into things like Romans 10. If you confess with your mouth and believe in your heart the truth, right? And the truth is supposed to set us free. So that's back to this conundrum. But then why aren't more of us free? Well, there's parts of our hearts that even as Spirit comes to reside in us, the remodeling takes some time. The renovation takes some work. And we actually are supposed to participate in that. It's called sanctification. That we're going to partner with the Trinity to overcome what isn't true and good and become our truest self, who we have it in us to be. So these are huge, huge, huge pieces. I like that you brought up Jeremiah 17:9. I mean, about the heart being deceitful and wicked. But you got to keep reading. In Jeremiah 24:7, I'll give them a heart to know me, that I am the Lord. They will be my people, and I will be their God, for they will return to me with all their heart. We don't see a lot of the adjectives in there that they're wicked hearts. They'll return to me with their wicked heart.
Well, we've been trained by, teachers and, they're all teachers, but to see the negative.
Yeah.
We talk about the true self and the false self, and in relationships, there's 4 different possibilities: the true self and the true self,
Right.
the true self and the false self, the true self, and both false selves interacting with one another. And you ask every time, 3 out of 4 of these, what?
They go bad.
Are bad.
Because there's a false self
Right.
scenario.
Now, 3 out of 4 of those scenarios have a chance, right? Because the true self is there. So there's something about living in the middle where we are. We're kind of in the in-between, Middle Earth, right? In between when Jesus left, when he's coming back, that, we just have that tendency to see the negative.
So we're getting to your question about why life from the heart.
Or how.
Or how.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why, then how.
Why
right.
and how. And so this, there's another passage in Luke 8 where Jesus is talking about the parable of the sower and the seeds.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to, without going way into it, he says, and a good heart who hears the word, retains it, and it's preserved, produces a crop. There's good fruit. So this good and noble heart, one version says, it's like, wait a minute. It can be that, which is a very different idea than you're a sinner or your heart is wicked. When you're talking to a believer,
Right.
when you're talking to an image bearer who has, really made that transition back to being a beloved son, and that's more of a transaction that he's now awake,
Mm-hmm.
and he's now aware, no longer dead, no longer ignorant, no longer naive, but now he's received love, and love is what makes him come alive. As we're back to the Tin Man.
It's the best thing in the world.
It's the best thing in the world. It's what we need for love.
Yeah.
So when you look at this passage, when you look at this word, I'm telling you, it's in the scriptures about 800 times. 600 references in the Hebrew, all over the place. Some of them are more applicable than others, for sure, in this conversation. And then in the New Testament, there's a few hundred references to this center, this core, and how it works in our spiritual journey and within our spiritual anatomy. One more definition, actually two. Easton's Illustrated Dictionary of Biblical Terms. Now, that's pretty thick.
Yeah.
Regarding the heart, Easton says, the heart is the center of spiritual activity and all the operations of human life.
Wow. Yeah.
Not a Hallmark card.
Not some of the operations.
Not a little.
All of the
Vine
operations.
says the heart is regarded as the seat of emotions, seat of knowledge and wisdom, and can be used of the man himself or his personality. It is also considered the seat of consciousness and moral character. What's in the well
comes up in the
comes
bucket.
up in the bucket.
That's right.
So, to say this is to make it pretty. I think hopefully it's not as outrageous as it can sound if we led with this, but to say it now, you have a good heart. You can have a good heart. Your operating system can actually be so transformed as Jesus enters into your timeline personally. And now you have not only a chance, but you have a direction in which the Trinity wants to go with you.
Right.
And that is overcoming all that was false and untrue and becoming all that is true about you, about God, and about others. So life from the heart. That's why.
How do we live that way?
Yeah. That's all of that. All of that is what not only struck me, but invited me. This thing is a big deal. This thing is actually critical. It's central. And so when I started to see how it worked, I don't know, we've talked about taking statins, so back to the physical heart. I mean, heart disease is a real thing in the physical realm. It's a real thing in the spiritual realm.
Right.
And so a lot of why had to do with taking inventory on these files. I just shared that one about, is that what you believe a mom is and a way a mom does?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was my experience. And so life from the heart is about exploring my past with Jesus in order to find anything and everything that's not good or helpful. Some things I probably didn't interpret accurately.
Yeah.
Other things I pretty much got the message correctly by being handled or mishandled by authority figures. And so life from the heart is about recovery. It's about forgiveness. of those who've offended, who've hurt. It's about knowing that I am important to him. Not just because the Bible tells me so, but because life from the heart versus just the brains. This is something experiential. This is something that I have tasted.
Yeah.
I have tasted it and heard God speak to my heart, seen him move for and toward my heart, give me gifts. Some of them are on our set.
Yeah.
That he gave friends to give to me to affirm or answer those questions that all of our hearts have. Do you see me? Do you love what you see? Do you want to be with me? Am I good? Am I strong? Can I come through?
Sure. All the
Do I
questions
have what
we're
it
asking.
takes? Those 6 or 7 questions are core throughout our journeys.
Yeah.
And man, there is just there's typically an extravagant amount of shortage in having those questions answered from the world around us.
Yeah, or answered in the way that God intended, right? I would add to that because they get answered,
Yeah.
even when we're not asking them. Many times,
And I think
because
that's how the enemy works,
it's agreements that we're carrying from when we're younger too. So, to live this life of more, this life from the heart, being wholehearted, I think. I'm glad you brought up the statins and heart disease and things like that, because the parallel to that, they're in that. In order to find the places in your heart where you need help, you've got to follow the pain. You've got to follow the pain. When you and I go to, our physical therapists, and they get their finger right into that part of your knee or that part of my shoulder, they're looking for the source of the pain that we're experiencing and what's causing it. So when we're talking about getting our hearts back and getting healing, well, you might be sitting there going, I don't even know where to start. Well, the place to start is with the pain. So think back to the last painful experience that you had, interacting with someone or where they ignored you, which is an interaction, by the way, even though they're not even paying attention to you. If you were ignored, if you weren't chosen, if you experienced heartbreak, if there was a breakup of a relationship, all these things that happen to us have the potential to stir up an old agreement, an old file that's been in our heart, and allow us to see the point of pain. And Jesus does this better than anybody else throughout the scriptures. And the one you hear, and I go to it, it's just a go-to. You can go right to it. The woman at the well. I mean, he's asking her questions at the source of her pain. And in order to achieve the freedom that Jesus offers, not achieve, but receive the freedom that he offers in Galatians 5:1, we've got to enter into those painful parts. And that's how you get your heart back, man.
Yeah. Well, back to how do you do that? The starting point, is seeing what you're saying, seeing what is so often become the normal.
Yeah.
Can be another word for kind of numb.
Right.
You're just used to it.
Right.
You're used to being rejected or misunderstood or mishandled, and in ways to cope, that's no big deal. They didn't really mean that.
I'm sure they're busy.
I mean, all kinds of things that can be the Advil to the pain, but it doesn't address what is really
the root issue
happening and why there's pain. So I think we've written some books on this stuff. To do it in 2 minutes or 20 minutes or more versus 200 pages.
Right.
And this this is the first book I wrote on called Search and Rescue. This was the book that I had to go into much more detail about all of these things. And would say that if this is making you more than curious, then that would be a great book to go online and purchase. So
get the not just the map of the terrain, but the details about it all.
Stories about it, the illustrations, all of that would be very, very, very helpful to explore in how do you live this way. Well, that's a subtle statement that has a kind of a hidden meaning that, well, if you want to live, how do I live that way? It's back to your point. Well, let's talk about how you're living now.
Right.
Because you don't just take off
it's not like a light switch is turned on.
You know, there's usually, as we've said, there's usually a few gurneys involved, you know, getting on the gurney and having some of the surgeries to get some of these things out, or off is a good word, off of us, so that we can be free to move without being encumbered by the lies, and see the false self become less, like you said in that example, to see my false self diminish and to participate in the diminishing of it.
Yeah.
Crap, that's if that's the program, and we're going to talk about in the final episode more of how, but that sounds pretty good. You know, I mean, I'd still like to lose a few more pounds. You know, and so how did you get heavy? Bite at a time and inactivity, and you know, so you do
unintentionally.
You do move in another direction, but as you move in that direction, you're aware of certain habits and ways that I'm actually leaving behind, that I'm trying to change.
Yeah, because they just don't serve you anymore, right? And the more that you release, the more you get better and better about seeing it. Yeah. Even in a more nuanced way.
And so I want to finish this one thought that we just started about.
Yeah.
So, and again, you can sign a document. You can tell your buddy, you know, I'm going to eat better, but you don't know the power of some of your habits until it comes up at 9:30 at night, and you think, man, a bowl of Lucky Charms would be great right now. Or I think I saw some ice cream. Now it's on. Now we're talking about you could say that afternoon, hey, I'm cutting out sweets.
Right.
Well, good for you.
Yeah, I got in the gym.
Well, you haven't cut them out until you can survive 9:30. 10 o'clock at night.
When you're alone.
Or the dessert tray comes around, or the Krispy Kreme sign says
hot now.
Hot, yeah. And so that's where I think our image bearers, our hearts on this journey, it gets real. When you can pay attention to the anger you feel, because rejection feels like something, and what it makes you feel is either extremely sad, angry, diminished, betrayed. I mean, this is what the work is. And I'm not saying when something's bad that's said about you, you shouldn't feel those things. But if you begin to believe that they're true,
right? That
not you just didn't get invited, but I am unlovable. That's a different file. To where now, yes, it's about the pressure and the reality is about you rather than that person's opinion of you.
Right.
And all of us have fallen victim. That's why I said earlier, 100%.
Yeah.
All of us have fallen victim to, the actions and kind and unkind actions of others and how it has made us feel. And so this organ of perception, this is where the war is fought for and over, And I would say, especially when we wrap up in this final session, just a little plug for the next session, your value and worth is directly connected to what Jesus did to redeem you. And how much he loves you to not even leave you in the state in which, you know, your conversion or your citizenship, you know, was brought to order. No, there is a journey that he wants you to be on, and it's not to give more and sin less. It's to be more and more free. It's to be more and more free.
That's right.
And
so, what determines the value of a thing?
What somebody's willing to pay for it.
Yeah.
Yep. And that is substantive. So,
well, as we land the plane on this episode, I want to remind you again, you can get a digital copy of the map at zoe.org/map. Andy's going to put up a link in the comments or the description where you can get the biblical theology of the heart. It's a free resource that you can download.
It's 4.0.
It's
4.0. I think it's 4.0.
Right. Yeah, man.
There's
Keeps
4
getting better
revisions.
and better. And if you've got questions, comments, anything you want to share with us, our email address is exploringmore@zoe.org. So shoot us a message and send us a question. Maybe we'll talk about it on the air.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Thanks for being with us, friends and allies. We'll see you next time on the Exploring More podcast.
We hope you have enjoyed this episode of Exploring More. The landing page for this podcast is zoe.org/podcast. That's ZOWEH.org/podcast, where you can find the show notes and various platforms to which we broadcast. You can also find us and the Life of More by visiting Zoe on YouVersion Bible app, Right Now Media, our Facebook page, and Zoe on Instagram and Twitter. Remember, with God there is always more, and you were made for more.